is coming to my birthday party. What about Rapunzel? And don't tell me she's getting her hair done.
Nope, writing something called a book.
Hey everyone, Rascal here.
And Mama, welcome to our channel, Paws On Animation.
Today we're covering Red Shoes and the Seven Dwarves. Yes, it's a real movie.
And this movie takes an entirely new twist on the story while playing homage to the other fairy tale spoofs. And in this film, Snow White's hiding from her stepmother, the evil queen, who wants a magical pair of slippers that turn the whole to beautiful. And on her quest to find her father, she ends up meeting a team of 7 guys who've been cursed and turned into dwarves. But they're K-pop stars!
Basically. And before we start, be sure to like, subscribe, notification links on future podcasts and more pause videos.
Thank you so much for your support, for subscribing, for joining us. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Now this is actually an English language South Korean animated fantasy movie.
Yes, a lot of words attached to that.
It's produced by Locust Corporation. As we mentioned, it's based on the original 1812 Snow White by the Brothers Grimm.
Yes. And found out about this movie actually a couple years ago when some people on YouTube were doing edits and spoofs and songs to this movie. And it became a little more of an independent type film because it wasn't really well known. It just started making its rounds for people who really love animation, and saying it was actually a pretty good different take on Snow White. And without it referencing Disney ad nauseum, it still has its own identity and how the story goes.
But it does kind of borrow from Shrek, and we'll
yeah.
let you know how.
Yes.
So it's directed and written by SOFHAB and produced by Soo-jin Hwang and Hyun-sung Kim. And the voice actors that are dubbing it are Chloe Grace Moretz, Sam Claflin,
They're the biggest stars, yeah.
Gina Gershon, Patrick Warburton, and Jim Rash.
Yes.
And it's got some good music that was produced by Jeff Zanelli.
Yes, actually was.
It's pretty short. It's 93 minutes. And it actually was released in South Korea back in 2019.
Yes, and then came out later here.
And they don't tell us the budget, but it actually earned $9.7 million US.
Okay.
Which is pretty good there for this type of movie.
Right.
And why should you watch it? Because it is a really good, different take on Fairytale.
Right.
And we've told you before that we love when you know it's the same story, but it's being told in such a different way, and it's so entertaining that it seems like something fresh and new.
Right.
And they managed to do that with this movie.
Right, definitely. And like you said, it does take some inspiration from Shrek, a little bit from Disney, and other people who have done their own spins on fairy tales. And for this one, it doesn't really go into having all these different fairy tales in one universe like we've seen new crossovers. This one kind of stays with the Snow White plot and maybe a little bit of Rapunzel, and that's basically it. And for here, instead of Snow White, called Red Shoes, the nickname, because the girl actually looks completely different when she puts on the red shoes. The Wicked Witch wanted them so she could look beautiful, and the daughter actually took them, and when she puts them on, she looks a whole different person.
So when she doesn't have the shoes on, she reminds you of Fiona. She's actually a heavier version of the fairy tale character. She's kind and selfless and a strong combat fighter.
Yeah.
And her alias, Red Shoes, is based on the story of the name, as well as her having red shoes in this version.
Yeah.
Which kind of reminds you of the Wizard of Oz.
Right. So it makes sense.
And she's voiced by Chloe Grace Moretz. And then you have the evil queen, as I mentioned, Queen Regina. Remind us of Once Upon a Time, the Disney version. Gina Gershon. And yeah, she's evil and she's trying to get the shoes back. And she communicates with the magic mirror, voiced by Patrick Warburton.
Which is pretty fun, yeah.
He's snarky and talking. And he's also part of a magical tree.
Yes, so like, oh, it's double fold.
And then you've got some other voice actors who appear here quickly. I want to mention Nolan North. We know as the Superboy.
Right.
He's Hans, the Twin Guards, and King White. We also have Carrie Walgren and Benjamin Diskin.
Yes, some good voice actors in here too.
And Merlin also appears in this version.
Oh yes, and that was actually another pretty cool part. And it's ironic. In this version for Seven Dwarves, they're actually technically not dwarves, so they kind of were playing on Disney's revamped version when they do live action remake, and they didn't want any smaller people playing dwarves for weird reasons. So in here, there are 7 supposedly, I guess, brave guys who were supposed to defeat an evil witch. And it turned out she wasn't an evil witch, she just was unfortunate looking, and she got real pissed and cursed them to look like 7 little small green men.
And then the twist here is that, as I mentioned, they look like a K-pop band.
Yeah.
They sing, they look like a K-pop band. And as you said, then they look like 7 dwarves.
Yeah.
After the curse.
Right. And then 2 things that are interesting with this take is that, one, they only look like dwarves when other people are looking at them. If no one looks at them, they revert back to what they look like humanly and normally. But if anyone looks at them, even if they look at each other, they're back to looking like little small things. And it can go back and forth depending on who's looking at them and how fast, and it can be really rapid. So that was an interesting idea.
And in here they're called the 7...
I think it was the
Fearless
7.
Seven.
Fearless
7.
Right.
Instead of 7 dwarves. So
Right.
I guess not to use that term.
Right.
So we're going to say Fearless 7 for the remainder of this podcast.
Right.
But they're the Fearless 7, and they've got a set of triplets.
Yes. Oh, that's right. And each one is based off of an existing Fairytale character, because you listen to all their names. Like, you have Merlin.
Pio, Noki, and Keo are
Yes.
the triplets.
Yes, thank you. Pio, Noki, and Keo. And the main 2 they really focus on is Merlin and Arthur. And as you're going down the line, all of them are named after other fictional fairy tale characters. And it's like, how'd you do 7 fearless? This is the Fearless 7. How is this done better than the 17s? They managed to do it long before them. How's that possible?
So in this version, unlike Shrek, where both Fiona and Shrek look the same, and she chooses to look like Shrek, Princess Snow White, as we mentioned, without the shoes, she's heavier. And with the shoes, she's thin. She's beautiful regardless either way. And then as Rascal explained, the Fearless 7, when people aren't around, they look like their human version selves.
Right.
And when they're around, they look like 7, like you could say ogres.
Like ogres or elves or something, yeah.
And so they're together. She has on the red shoes, and they look like the 7, Fearless 7, the shorter ones.
Right.
And then when she doesn't have the shoes on, she's the heavier version. And when no one's around, they're the K-pop group.
Yeah.
Now, to us, it was funny and interesting because they fall for, one of the Fearless 7 falls for Snow White and vice versa. And she doesn't want them to see her without the red shoes.
Right.
And so it's hilarious in one scene, she actually doesn't have the red shoes on.
Right.
They don't know who she is, and they still try to save her and help her.
Yes.
And then he's like, you look familiar. I've seen you before. She's like, no, and she runs off, and it's the same one that's in love with her.
Yeah.
When she has the shoes on.
Right.
So, of course, by the end, each reveals whom the other is, and they're still in love with each other regardless.
Right.
Now, unfortunately, it got into a controversy because for some reason they were saying, it was implying that there was fat shaming in here.
Yeah,
and
that
we
was it.
watched it, and I don't see it myself. Did you?
No, I get what they were pretty much saying is beauty is the eye of the beholder. Regardless if she looked heavier or thinner, he loved her either way she was.
And it was the same for her.
Right.
She didn't care. She actually fell in love with him as one of the Fearless 7.
Yeah.
And then when he revealed to her whom he really was, she actually told him, I like you better like this.
Yes.
And he chose to stay that way when he had opportunity not to be anymore.
Right.
So I personally don't see where the fat shaming is. And never in this movie was that type of language used. The only time something was referred to as in a negative, you always have the bad characters or the evil characters or the bullies and so forth. They were in here like any other movie. So I'm not sure where the fat shaming came in,
Right.
because we didn't see it. It's a delightful movie. It's a joy to watch. It's fun. It's greatly, and the animation looks great.
Yeah, it does.
The voice acting cast was well chosen, and we recommend you watch it because
Yeah.
we don't see it.
Yeah, and I only think it came in when the idea of her changing the body size came in with the shoes, and the idea is that she looks more attractive when she has the shoes on and the weight is gone. So I assume because of that, that's where the controversy started, and they would have preferred if she just stayed heavy the entire movie rather than change back and forth. But then that loses the entire point of the transformation and the story. So I guess it depends on if it affects you or not.
Now, also, after at the Cannes, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, sorry, film festival where they made all this noise at, later on, you had organizations and people saying that the movie has positive messages, which it does. It's family entertainment. There's absolutely no cursing in here, no
Nope.
sexual innuendos whatsoever, and there are lessons about positive body image, self-acceptance,
Yeah.
accepting others, confronting stereotypes. That's to us what the movie was about.
Yes, absolutely.
And if those are things that are important to you, that are high on your list of what you want to see in entertainment and what you value in your personal life, then Red Shoes should definitely be a film that you watch.
Yeah, absolutely. And unlike with a lot of other fairy tale spoof movies, this one is still trying to be its own thing. Because most of the time, every fairy tale spoof wants to be Shrek. Or if they're doing their own fairy tale or take on one, they want to be Disney. I do like they made just nods to both Shrek and Disney, but it stayed being its own thing.
Definitely.
Rather than trying to rely on your knowledge of Shrek doing phenomenal parodying these spoofs and things. It just told its own story, chose one story, had nods to respective parties who've done their take on these fairy tales, and told its own story in a unique way, like we've seen with Once Upon a Time, Once Upon a Crime, we've seen with other animated shows and movies, and Hoodwinks that just do it their own way, but not trying to specifically be one or the other.
Now, some people may have been deterred because Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 40%. We don't listen to them anymore anyway, but they got it wrong on this one. If you've never seen it, we recommend you watch it.
Yes, definitely.
So, if you have seen Red Shoes and the Seven
Dwarves.
Dwarves, let us know what you think in the comments. I was going to say Fearless 7. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Did you like it like we did? Did you find it mid or uninteresting? We really want to hear what you think. If you haven't seen it, it's available on, is it Tubi?
Yes.
And probably Fossum
Or
and
Prime,
Zumo
yeah.
or Prime. Give it a watch. You'll definitely enjoy it, and it's definitely worth the 93 minutes to invest in watching it.
Right.
Come back and let us know what you think as well.
And if you haven't already, subscribe for updates of your favorite anime series, anime shows, and all things animation.
And thank you so much again for your support. If you found this enjoyable, be sure to like and hit the notification bell. Share it as well. It really helps us out.
Yes. So, thank you so much for watching Mask Entertainment.
And I'm Mom Entertainment.
Have a toontastic day.
Peace.